In the still of the night, I think of you. My heart beats with every thought of you. You're the one I can't let go. In your arms I find my home. Love, sweet love.
Come to think of it, how long can you resist all this? She struck out a seductive pose. Helen gasped as the realization of what IJ's superfluous visit was about dawned on her. She also wanted Chuck and came to find out what was between them. Did she not realize that Chuck and Stanley are like brothers? Helen stopped to listen for more when she heard Chuck speaking. I just have this to say. Stay away from Helen and be very careful. There is only so much of your disgusting persistence I can take. Chuck moved on and began walking towards her, and Helen quickly ran to sit on the bench, no one the wiser of what she had seen and heard. Then a strange kind of respect began to grow in her heart for Chuck. He wasn't the heartless womanizer the world had made him out to be. A heartless womanizer would take what IJ offered, regardless of friendship, and certainly not caring who he hurt. Her admiration and respect for him grew in that instant, so much that she genuinely smiled when he came into her view. Wow, that smile, he said, and came to sit beside her. Did you get child-minding duty too? No, I wanted to see you. What for? I believe I didn't handle this morning well. I came to apologize. Helen was momentarily struck dumb. Was this not the same man they said couldn't care less how he treated women? And certainly not about how often he broke their hearts? I am surprised, was all Helen could say. Chuck grinned at her. Her heart missed several beats. He was so handsome, and she almost forgot that he said he came to apologize, but had not yet apologized. Well, get on with it. With what? He asked, tucking a stray hair from her face. Get on with kissing you, because that is absolutely what I feel like doing right this minute. She slapped his hands away. Get on with your apology. He laughed. So, that I came to apologize is not enough? She nodded. Something tells me I'm about to witness a rare occurrence. I have the inclination to record it for history's sake. He laughed and then kissed her. He was fast. She didn't see that coming. 1 minute he was talking, the next he was claiming her lips in a soul-searing kiss, and she couldn't help but melt against him. He was everything she wanted in a man and more. She wished she was free to give him her all. She could tell that Chuck would demand nothing but all from a woman he cared about, and she was sure he cared about her, or he wouldn't come to apologize. An apology has not yet rendered. Helen, this is not an apology. He knows of your weakness for him, and is only exploring, her mind intensely reminded her. If we don't stop now, Chuck groaned. Your style of apology beats all? He laughed. Before I do, I want you to know that I am not apologizing we shared a bed or kissed. Holding you throughout the night was beautiful. I am just sorry I have no memory of it. How would you be knowing it was beautiful then? I guess we both know the answer from the way we felt the morning after. Helen stared dumbfounded, but her mind was racing. What did he mean by that? Was this a confession of love? Certainly she was not the only woman he had shared a bed with, and theirs was innocent. What should she make out of what he said to her? She had to force herself to focus on what he was saying. But I am sorry for what I said afterwards. I let my temper get the better of me. It has been a long time I lost my temper over a woman. Helen heaved a sigh. Okay, I too said things I am not proud of. I guess I was running scared and confused, finding you beside me and not knowing what went on while I was asleep. And then I was really ashamed, not of being with you, but of myself that we were found like that, as if we were. Stop there before I lose my top over again, he smiled. I get you, but if we had done more than sleep together, I promise you, you wouldn't have slept through it. She looked down, suddenly shy and suddenly so in love with him. Something about you. I can't put my finger on it, but I am determined to find out what, Helen. She could only stare at him. Falling in love with him was stupid, and the intensity of her feelings was scary, especially knowing he was not offering more than a holiday affair. How would she survive if he left after his holiday, and afterwards pictures of him and beauty queens from around the globe starts appearing on magazines and blogs? She needed a leverage. She needed to be saved from herself. I do not deny I'm attracted to you in a way I've not been attracted to any woman before. And I know you feel the same way too. Tell me, does Dave's kiss make you feel the same way mine makes you feel? It doesn't matter, Helen said, floundering, trying to organize her thoughts. I am with him, and I can't leave him for a holiday affair. Or isn't that what you are offering? I have not offered anything yet, Helen. He was suddenly angry that she could resist him, that she could put Dave before him. He knew he was being conceited, but he didn't care. Then what is this conversation all about, Chuck? Helen was tired. She just wanted to be far away from him and from all the confusion crowding her mind. Have dinner with me. Maybe we'll figure it out. I don't think that is a good idea. You and I in a dim lit room, doing nothing but staring at each other's eyes. The restaurant might throw us out for indecent behavior instead. She smiled, and he laughed. This was the first time she was hearing him laugh for the pure fun of it. He had laughed with sarcasm and mockery, or we might get thrown out for fighting like crazy like we often do. Helen continued. And if I am lucky enough, you would wear some low-cut dress. So when I can't take the depth of your brown eyes anymore, I would have something else to look at. And she smiled back. No wonder women flocked around him. It wasn't just for the money or good looks. He had a way with words, and a woman cannot help but drown in it. You are beautiful, he said to her. Helen was startled. She knew she wasn't ugly, but she also knew she wasn't really beautiful. Now you're lying. If Dave doesn't think you're beautiful, then he's a fool. It's not Dave. I've never seen myself as beautiful. Suddenly he jerked her towards him and kissed her hungry and fast. Your naivety is quite alluring, my dear. You have a beauty that grows on a man when he's not looking. You have grown on me, Helen. She smiled. We should be heading back. They stared at each other, chest heaving and lost. Slowly he drew her to him. This time around, the kiss was soft and sweet, and he made her feel as beautiful as he saw her. Helen could then believe she was beautiful, because this magnificent man found her so. She drew closer to him and gave her all in the kiss. I love this man, she whispered to herself. So she was going to do all in her power to make sure she remembered her past, because it was all that mattered to her, and she couldn't live without this. Without his sarcasm, his kiss, his laugh, his touch, his words, his quick temper. Suddenly her phone rang, and they reluctantly let go of each other. Helen answered the phone and turned to him. Time to go? He helped her to her feet and called to the children. Sean rushed to him, while Sky shyly walked over to Helen. Together they left the garden hand in hand with the children, and he thought he wanted this, a wife and children. Then he stopped himself. That thought he couldn't deal with. He didn't know if he was fit to be a father thanks to his mom. Helen saw Mma and Tessie out in front waiting for them. From the loud sound of music, she realized the party had already begun. Chuck was still holding her hands. The way they walked together, one would think they were a couple with their children. She closed her eyes and let herself dream, relying on the man leading her for direction. She wondered if her dreams would ever come true, if the day would come when she would become Mrs. Okoha. She smiled at the thought and opened her eyes. The questions in their eyes are incredible, Chuck observed. I would be curious too. Think we should appease their curiosity? You wouldn't dare, she said in mock horror, but still moved away from him because she knew how fast he could be when he had in mind to. He smiled and drew her back to him. I was only teasing. With you, it's difficult to know, she whispered as they reached Mma. Hey, you two, Tessie greeted as she took her daughter from Helen. I didn't realize I gave you child-minding duty too, Mma teased Chuck. Chuck laughed. Would you believe me if I said I wanted to see my nephew? No. Okay then. There you have your answer. He laughed and kissed her forehead. You are beautiful, he said to Mma and smiled at Tessie. You know I have a crush on you, right? Tessie laughed. Is no woman ever safe with you? Oh, it is the other way round, honey. But for you, anytime you get tired of grumpy Phyllis, my offer still stands. Tessie smiled and blew him a kiss. Your charms are wasted on me. And besides, all the charms in the world wouldn't save you from grumpy Phyllis if you overhears. Helen watched the exchange with something akin to jealousy, but she knew better. She knew they were all words and nothing more. She knew he would never betray his friends, and for that she loved him even more. It was not possible that a human could love so much her body quaked with it. How she wished he would love her back. Then it wouldn't matter. Nothing would. Not her nature, not her past. You two look cute together, Tessie observed, winking at Helen. Helen looked down shyly and wondered what he thought about that. Chuck chuckled. Do we? He asked and smiled at her. Yes, she is everything a smart man would want to have and keep forever, Mma rejoined. Chuck suddenly looked at her and she looked up at him, and the world stood still. There was no Mma, no Tessie, or the outside world. Helen was lost in his green eyes and in the emotions he couldn't hide. She took a step towards him, drawn by a force more powerful than anything she had ever felt, and so powerless it rendered her that all she wanted in that instant was to be wrapped in his hands, to hold and be held, to touch and be touched. Chuck knew he had to look away, but he couldn't. He was floundering and looking for something to hold on to before he fell into the whirlpool that was her brown eyes. Such power, such hold, was more than anything earthly, and somehow he believed in that moment that this was the woman for him. He had to have her. He had to explore. He had to know. So caught up were they in each other and the intense feelings they could so easily invoke in each other that they didn't hear her at first. Hi, Chuck, darling, she repeated. If Mma and Tessie could, they would have banished former most beautiful girl in Nigeria and Chuck's ex-girlfriend to oblivion and beyond, because in that moment they realized what they had not been certain about before, that Chuck and Helen needed each other, and together they would find the most precious of all, love. Helen was the first to turn, and her heart skipped several beats when she saw the most beautiful girl in Nigeria looking breathtaking, like an Amazon queen smiling at Chuck. Chuck turned and the spell was broken. The feeling suspended, though both could still feel the afterquakes of it. Her body vibrated with it, and she felt energized and weakened at the same time. How was it possible? How could it be? No human had the right to have this kind of power over another human. Chuck could have kissed Risa, but choosing that moment to interrupt what he couldn't even begin to fathom. He became angry when he saw that his hands shook. What was going on? What power was this? What feelings? He needed a heavy dose of reality and distraction, and the two presented themselves in the person of his ex, and he couldn't have been happier seeing another human being. Risa, he called, and she practically flew into his arms. Helen watched with raging jealousy. Felt like scratching the beauty queen's eyes out. But instead she took a deep breath and was about to leave before she gave in to the raging desire and embarrassed herself. Everyone, this is Risa. Risa, this is Mma. She needs no introduction. We are good friends. She's my designer, Risa said jovially. Mma forced a smile. Being a lucrative client didn't stop her from wishing for a whirlpool to carry the beauty queen away. Chuck turned to Tessie. I have a crush on this one ever since I met her, but she is happily married and won't leave her husband. Tessie smiled at the girl. I lost my king? Risa laughed. Helen wanted to sucker punch her. Even her laugh was sexy and nice to listen to. No wonder Chuck fell for her. Briefly, her mind reminded her. If Risa, with all her beauty and charms, could only hold his interest for a short period, then she didn't have a chance that she could and would hold his. Helen smiled at the girl coolly when she heard her name. She was curious to hear what he would introduce her as.
In the still of the night, I think of you. My heart beats with every thought of you. You're the one I can't let go. In your arms I find my home. Love, sweet love, it's you I'm dreaming of every